Hey, what's up guys? Jaeky here. Today I'm going to be going over some tips and tricks on how to master using the Vandal. So obviously the Vandal is one of the main guns in Valorant that you can purchase, and it's one of the most popular guns that people like to use. It's extremely powerful, but there are some tips that you need to learn in order to master using the Vandal completely. So starting off with my first tip, it's going to be to make sure that you tap and burst with the Vandal and avoid spraying as much as possible. So when you're taking fights, you want to be either tapping like this, or you want to be bursting like this. Instead of fully committing to crouch sprays, going like this and fully committing to these sprays, this is bad. Because beyond a certain point, the Vandal spray becomes very random, and so it's very hard to control the spray of a Vandal, and plus this gun was not meant to be used in that way where you're spraying fully. The main playstyle of the Vandal is going to be tapping and bursting, so going for these burst kills and strafing in between your bursts. So my first tip for you guys is going to be to always make sure that you're bursting and tapping whenever possible. Unless you're in a situation where they're very close on you like this, then it would be okay to go for a spray. But for those medium long range distances where the Vandal excels, you want to be going for those tap and burst kills. Moving on to the next tip, I kind of mentioned this earlier, but you want to be strafing in between your shots. So when you go for that initial burst, let's say I miss this bot like that, you want to strafe. So it doesn't matter which direction you strafe to. If you guys want to know how to counter strafe and you don't know what a counter strafe is, I actually made a full guide on how to counter strafe, and I will leave that in the description below for you guys to check out. So it's very important that after every burst, you strafe in between your shots. This makes you a harder target to hit, but it also allows time for your recoil to reset and for you to go for a new burst. When you burst the Vandal, there's going to be a period of time where your recoil is going to be going up. So you want to make sure you allow enough time for your recoil to reset so that your first bullet is accurate again. And to do this, the best way is to strafe in between your bursts. So you burst and then you strafe, and then you burst and then you strafe. Again, just because this allows time for your recoil to reset, and it also makes you a harder target to hit if you're dueling an enemy at medium to long range. So when you're using the Vandal in a firefight and you're dueling people, I would never recommend standing still and making yourself a stationary target. I would also never recommend going for full crouch sprays. The Vandal really excels when you're strafing and moving in between your shots and really going for those burst and tap kills. And that brings me on to my next tip, which is to avoid run and gunning with the Vandal. So with the Vandal, it's a lot of RNG when you're running gunning. So if you're doing something like this where you're moving and shooting at the same time, it's pretty RNG where your bullets will go. When you're shooting the Vandal, you always want to make sure that you're standing completely still. And you can do this by counter strafing, or you can just be holding an angle, standing completely still. This makes sure that your first bullet will go as straight as possible. The Vandal does have some variance when it comes to first bullet accuracy, but when you're standing still, that it increases the chances that your bullet will go as straight as possible. So with moving around and shooting, you can get away with this at close range with guns like the Spectre, even with the Phantom. The Phantom's a lot more forgiving when you're moving and shooting at the same time. But with the Vandal, you really want to make sure that you're hitting those counter strafes and you're standing completely still before you shoot at your enemy, just to make sure that your bullet goes exactly where you're aiming. So speaking of that first bullet accuracy, the Vandal actually does not have a completely perfect first bullet accuracy, meaning that sometimes even if you're aiming your crosshair directly on a target, if you shoot, sometimes that variance will cause that first bullet to be off. So my next tip for the Vandal is to not be afraid to ADS. Do not be afraid to ADS with the Vandal. Ye is considered one of the best players in the world, if not the best player in the world currently. And he ADSs with the Vandal very often. Especially for those long range fights, you will often see Ye ADSing with the Vandal. And the reason for this is because first bullet accuracy with the Vandal, while it's ADS'd, is increased a lot compared to hip fire. I'm actually going to put a clip right here where even Tens will talk about ADSing, because Tens explains it a lot better than I do.
I think ADS fixes it actually. So a reason why like your bullets, oh that was shooting too fast there. A reason why your bullets might feel like really straight when you're ADSing. So that's ADS right there. And it's even better on the Guardian, whereas like if you ADS on the Guardian, so that's why it quite literally doesn't move. That's why if people are like, wow, like why does the Vandal feel like shit? Like I feel like I'm tapping people and it's not working. It's literally this reason right here. It's because when you're actually tapping people, it's not actually going straight.
So another tip from earlier that ties into this is don't spray. Even if you're ADS'd, I would highly recommend not spraying. Instead, when you're ADS'd, go for those burst and tap kills, because spraying while you're ADS can get super messy and very hard to control. So always make sure that you go for tap and bursts even while you're ADS'd. Alright guys, my next tip is to make sure that your shots count. So obviously with the Vandal, you only have 25 bullets in your magazine compared to the Phantom's 30. So that's 5 less bullets, and those 5 bullets can really add up. So if you're wasting your bullets, you'll find yourself really stuck in some situations where you don't have enough ammo. Let's say you're defending a site and you're spraying your Vandal a lot. So that's one of the reasons why you don't want to spray, is because it can drain your bullets super fast, and you might be caught with maybe only 10 bullets left in your magazine while you have a full squad pushing you. So that's why you want to make sure that every shot that you take counts, and you want to make sure you're bursting and tapping for this exact reason, so that you can save as much bullets as possible without having to reload. Alright guys, and for my final tip with the Vandal, it's to not spray through smokes. So the reason why spraying through smokes with a Phantom is better than a Vandal is because of tracers. So you see when I shoot, there's little tracers coming out of my gun. The enemies can actually see these tracers as well. So if you're spamming through a smoke with a Vandal, like spraying through a smoke, your enemy can actually see those tracers coming through, and it's super easy to shoot back at those tracers. So you just basically give yourself away and become a free kill if you're spraying through smokes. That doesn't mean that you can't shoot through smokes with a Vandal, but if you want to shoot through smokes with a Vandal, you want to make sure again that you're bursting through the smoke and repositioning after every burst. So let's say there was a smoke right here in front of me. So just like this, let's say there was a smoke right here in front of me. Instead of fully crouch spraying through a smoke like this and committing to the spray, this makes me a super easy target to hit because they can just shoot back at my tracers. If you want to be spraying through smokes with a Vandal, you want to make sure that you're going for little bursts like this and also repositioning after every burst. So I'm spraying through the smoke here, and then I'm repositioning in between my shots. So that's going to be the best way to shoot through a smoke with a Vandal. And that's pretty much it, guys. Those are some tips and tricks to help you guys master the Vandal. If this video helps you out, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.